Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my complete electric guitar collection. This is both a mix of stuff that I've purchased and stuff that was sent in over the last few years, or stuff that's been sent in recently that I've kept. I thought it might be cool to share with you what I've still got. Now, last time I did a video like this, I only showcased the stuff that I purchased, but everyone was like, what about this guitar? What about that guitar? Where are those? So I'm going to cover everything, and there's probably a few more than meets the eye in this room. Being that I don't hang them on the wall all of the time, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering where certain guitars are and whether or not I still have them. So that's what this video will answer. I hope you like this video. If you can, please leave a thumbs up, or if you enjoy the video, whatever the case may be. So we're going to start with this guy right here. So this is my Fender American Original 50 Stratocaster. I purchased this a few years back, and I said at the time of filming that this would be my last Fender Strat, and it has been. Who would have guessed? I have almost pulled the trigger on a second one, but not of the same one. But this is still my main Stratocaster. I have no plans on replacing this. I think that there's really two things that sold this guitar to me. It was the soft V neck. As a lefty, this is very uncommon. It's a nice chunky neck, but not too fat. It's very playable, and it just looks and feels beautiful on the neck. No questions about it. I love the fact we get the vintage tuners, but the pickups in this guitar really sing. They're almost up there with the Fender Custom Shop pickups, but not quite, but very close. I really think that this is close to a custom shop guitar, minus the weight. So there's that trade-off as well. It is a little bit heavy, but it's a beautiful looking electric guitar. I love the color scheme on here as well. It's sort of like translucent white and the white pickguard. Looks really classy, and yeah, it's one of my favorite guitars visually. Where this guitar shines and sounds better than a lot of other Strats I've owned over the years is in the middle positions, either neck and middle and bridge and middle together. Those positions sound really great, and I still get the full buzz, so there's no hum cancelling. I think that adds a little bit to the tone. That's just an observation, you know, going over the years, owning plenty of different Stratocasters, especially neck and middle on this guitar. While I'm not a huge fan of that sound conventionally, I actually really like it on this. It's kind of changed my mind on that particular combination. And when you're talking about bridge and middle, this is by far the best sounding Strat I've ever had. This Fender American Originals 50 Stratocaster comes in a beautiful tweed hard case. It looks like a custom shop guitar at a fraction of the price, and if you can still find one of these, it's definitely worth checking out. All right, keeping with the Fender-esque electric guitars, here's the Charvel Pro Mod. This was sent out from Fender. It took a year to get here. I couldn't believe it. I totally forgot it was coming, and when it turned up, I emailed my contact at Fender. I was like, I got a Charvel. He's like, yeah, we spoke about it a year ago. I was like, oh yeah, we did. So big thanks to Fender for sending out this. There's a lot to like about this. This is basically like a modern interpretation of a Stratocaster in many ways. You know, we get lots of different appointments here. We've got the contoured heel. We get a roasted maple neck. It's caramelized actually on this one, so it's a little bit different, but I think the end result is pretty similar. Locking tuners. It's much lighter than my Strat, which is a really cool thing. And it's loaded with two humbuckers. Now, we can either go in series or parallel with this guitar thanks to this switch here. In the down position, you get the big full sound. In the up position, it's a bit more sort of like an older school or less output humbucker tone. And then you get a 5-position toggle switch. So there's plenty of different tonal combinations in this guitar. It has a flatter fretboard as well and a thinner neck, much thinner neck than that. So it's a very different guitar, but I've come to really appreciate this because it's still very simple. I can just leave that toggle switch down, which is my favorite position, and just use the neck or bridge pickup, especially to get really great tones. We get a tremolo arm as well, which is very functional. And the input jack is on the back, which always gets me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, it goes in over here. So this is a really cool guitar. I can highly recommend checking out Charvel, especially if you're into playing sort of like higher gain types of music. But you've seen this showcased quite a few times now on the channel. And I did a full review on this as well. It's just a really cool guitar. Again, it's very simple, but very playable, and it's got nice big frets. It's really easy to bend on thanks to that flatter profile on the neck. On this, actually feels a little bit smoother and nicer in the hand than on my Fender American Original 50s guitar, because it's nice and it's got that satin finish, which I really like. But beautiful guitar, check it out. Here we have the Harley Benton Fusion T 25th anniversary electric guitar. This is a T-style electric, obviously in this beautiful fire mist finish. I mean, take a look at that. The neck on this is so premium. I'm looking at it on my reference monitor, and it looks better than both of the other two guitars I've shown so far. It really does look great, and it feels amazing. It's flamed. It just looks stunning. So we get not only this roasted maple neck, we get locking tuners, a quality nut, and this is by far the best sub $500 guitar I've ever played personally. It's also lighter than both of those two, which is crazy. It's probably very similar to the Charvel. I haven't weighed them side by side, but just picking it up straight after the Charvel, this actually feels a little bit lighter. Now these Tesla pickups, I don't know much about them other than they sound great. So if you're looking for a very simple guitar where you just want, you know, great humbucker tones, this will do the job. But it also allows you to split the coils, or give you that single coil tone, thanks to the tone control back here. And it does it very convincingly, more so than even my PRS SE before I had that removed. So yeah, this is very functional, very playable. I love the fact we get the contoured heel back here as well. We get the belly cut on a tally, which just makes so much sense. It really does. And we get a really premium finish. I actually emailed Thomann as soon as this arrived and I opened it. I told them, man, this thing looks unbelievable. You've really stepped it up in terms of the finish. But not only that, it's extremely playable. I plan on keeping this long term. It's by far the best Harley Benton I've ever played. Here we have one of my oldest guitars. This is the Tokai Loverock LS110. I've said this before, this has outlasted all of my Gibson Les Pauls. This is made in Japan. It's a beautiful instrument. I've made some mods to it over the years. Just some simple things to make it better. The switch ended up failing after about 4 or 5 years of use, so I got that replaced. And I also ended up having a high pass filter put in, which was the best $3 mod you can make. It means when I turn the volume controls down, I get all the top end still there. It's really great how it works, and it's just completely given this much more usable experience, especially when playing live. But better than that, being that I owned a custom shop VOS Gibson Electric, putting these side by side, just in terms of feel in a blindfold test, you can't tell the difference. That's how good these are. We get the 50s profile neck. We get nice, beautiful mahogany body as well. So yes, it's heavy, but we get all the good appointments you could expect on any great LP from Gibson or any other brand. You know, Tokai were one of the first lawsuit brands, and in Australia, they're really easy to get still. So that's great. We get, you know, the very similar sort of headstock to Gibson right there as well. Obviously, it says made in Japan on the back, but just a beautiful instrument. Stock pickups. I've had nothing done to the pickups other than put that high pass filter in, which just made it far more playable, especially at lower volumes. But this is beautiful, man. And one of the reasons why I love this, not only are the tones great, but a 50s profile neck, which is exactly what I like on a guitar like this. So this isn't going anywhere. I don't plan on buying another LP unless there's one that completely blows my mind and I want to replace this. Or maybe I splurge in the future, but as of right now, this is the only guitar like it, and I'm quite happy with it. One of the guitars I need to start playing more is this. This is my Little Crow Corvinho SD. The SD stands for my initials. I had some input into the overall design of this, but it was mostly Little Crow. I just bounced some ideas back and forth and they came up with this. So, you know, I appreciate them putting my initials on this guitar. It's beautiful, it really is. I think one of the things about it, it very much feels like someone's built this. It doesn't feel like it's come off, you know, a press of guitars like some of my other ones do. It literally feels like someone's put this together in all the good ways. So this has a lot of the things that I love about a great Telecaster. We get a 50s profile neck. It's got a satin finish as well, or a very smooth finish. I think it's some sort of oil from memory. It's been a while since I've looked at the specs. We get Goto locking tuners. I think the star of the show for me with this guitar is it's extremely light thanks to the hollow body design here. It does have a block running down the center. And we get two of the best sounding pickups from a builder in Australia called Briley. Mini humbucker in the neck and a Telecaster bridge pickup. So again, we're getting all the snap and clarity on the neck pickup, and of course the bridge tally pickup, which is renowned for having a lot of attitude and oomph, while still being bright, still very functional and extremely usable, especially with higher gain. We get one volume control, one tone control. Here's the back of the guitar here as well. So no contours or anything like that, just pretty much a standard design, but still one of my favorite guitars, and it feels every bit as good to play as some of the far more expensive guitars. It really, they put a lot of love and a lot of work into this, and this Little Crow Corvinho is still one of my favorites. I have no plans ever on getting rid of this, so this will be with me long term. Check them out, littlecrowguitars.com. Over to maybe my most striking electric guitar visually. This is my Vola Vasti. This is made in Japan, like my Tokai Loverock. It's nice and light and small when you compare it up against a traditional Telecaster. So for example, even if I'm comparing it up against this Harley Benton, you can see just how much smaller the body is on this. We get that really great contour at the back, much like we do on the Harley Benton as well, but the body is smaller, which makes this guitar a whole lot lighter. So if you're looking for a light alternative to a Fender and you like something a little bit more modern, then go for this. I already know this visually isn't for everybody, but I've come to really appreciate stuff that's just a little bit different. I'm so sick of just seeing the same old guitars every other year. So at the end of the day, this is very similar to a Telecaster, but there's also a few differences. We get the modern appointments of some really great locking tuners. We get the Goto tuners here. We get this maple neck, which is pretty standard when you're talking about a T-style electric guitar. String through body, and we get maybe the best feature about this, which is this bridge pickup. Now, it's a mini humbucker. It's disguised as sort of like a rail style bridge Telecaster pickup. And then if we pull up on the volume control, it gives us the single coil tone of that bridge position. So we can essentially get 4 different sounds out of this, either neck, both pickups, bridge, and then bridge split, or back to full humbucker mode or mini humbucker mode, which makes this very versatile. I just love this guitar's mojo. The seafoam green looks killer. We get the 3 saddle bridge back here as well. And overall, I just think it's a great looking guitar. I know not everyone will like this, but let us know what you think of this in the comments section, and whether or not, you know, you've acclimatized to different styles when it comes to electric guitars. Up next is my PRS SE Custom 24. Now this has been modified, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment, but I don't think there's been any guitar that I've purchased personally that I've used more than this after buying it. This has been used to death at gigs, jam nights. It's just such a great electric guitar. This is by far the easiest guitar to play. There's something about the neck and action combination on this that just makes everything more playable. While I'm usually more partial to a fatter neck, as I've spoken about, we get a thin, wide neck, and it still feels amazing to play. Again, I got big hands, so I much prefer a deeper neck normally, but I've tried deeper neck electric guitars from PRS, and I still find this more playable. I don't know what it is about it. So this has just been an absolute staple on the channel. It's been a staple for live shows. You get this great little gig bag with it as well, one of the best at its price you can buy. And it's very simple, 3-way toggle switch, and I had a different set of pickups put in. So these are from Missing Link Audio. They sent out a set of humbuckers, and I thought, man, the only guitar I'd really want to change pickups in is potentially this. But I tell you what, I've kept the original pickups because who knows, right? I might go back to them. But at the end of the day though, these pickups work great in this electric guitar, and they just sound beautiful live as well. I took out all the push-pull things that were just terrible. So I don't know what it is about PRS guitars, but their coil tap mode, it's not good. So yeah, I had that removed because I never used it. The stock pickups are fine, and if you've got one of these, you know, you don't really need to go changing the pickups, but I thought I'll do it as an experiment, and these have just stayed in. So it's been a great guitar. Now, this electric's made in Korea. It was the first run of PRS SEs they ever did in a lefty. I actually borrowed this from Sky Music, where I showcase a lot of the gear from. I took it back after I did my review and bought it the next day. That's how much I liked it, and I was really blown away by it. The only thing I didn't like about it, and I mentioned that on my video, was the coil tap or split coil mode. It just wasn't very usable. Just dropped the output far too much, and it just wasn't very great. But as it stands, this is still arguably the most played guitar in my collection. It's great. PRS SE Custom 24 in Trampers Green. Another green guitar. My favorite guitar in the collection as of June of 2023 is this. This is my Kiesel S5. This is made in California, and it's by far the most playable electric guitar. Much like my PRS SE Custom 24, we get 24 frets. They're stainless steel frets. They customized this beautifully at Kiesel, giving me a chunky neck, which ticks all of those boxes. It's light. It has the best sounding single coils out of all of my electric guitars. It's not even close. These absolutely kill my Strat, and they also kill my Telecaster. So it's like, well, what's not to like about it, right? I got this beautiful sort of white finish on it that you can also feel the texture of the wood through a little bit. It's really, really stunning. It's just a great instrument. I'll talk you through why. So one of the things I've always liked about a great Strat neck pickup is its chirp. This has that. We get the Johnny Highland pickups in here, which are so good. I've owned basically all of his pickups over the last 15 years or so. And in this guitar, they're perfect. They really nailed the tone. So there's one pickup combination missing, and that's neck and middle pickup. So if I want that, I can get that from my Strat. Instead, that position gives us neck and bridge. So you're getting that Telecaster tone, which I think is great. We then go into the middle position. we get the middle pickup only. So that's awesome. So that gives us back that middle sort of Stratocaster pickup, which I really love. Once we go back to the position 2, we get middle and bridge pickups together, giving us that classic sort of Stratty tone, but we get the attitude of this bridge pickup, which is more like a Telecaster pickup. If we go over to bridge, we get the Tele sound. These have so much 3D presence in the room. Every time I play this, I appreciate it more. It has the best action out of any of my guitars. It's light, it's playable. I absolutely love this. I had no expectations. I'd heard a lot about Kiesel, and I've seen a lot of them online, but until I had a chance to play one, I went, now I get it. And when I first got this, I had a lot of damp issues here at the house, and I had to get the action sorted out. So it took a while to get that done. Once I had this set up and I got it back, I haven't stopped playing this. All of my live clips you've seen on the channel have been with this because it's friggin' awesome. You get a great gig bag, value for money. This is unmatched, I reckon, if you're looking for something that's a custom shop electric. You're not going to pay anywhere near as much. Locking tuners, the whammy bar works perfectly. I do use it, actually. It's in the gig bag right now, but this is such a beautiful instrument. I can highly recommend this. Again, these Johnny Highland pickups they put in this S5 are phenomenal. So Kiesel, thank you for sending this out. Just an absolute monster of an electric guitar. Up next, we're taking a look at my Fender American Original 50s Telecaster. Straight off the shelf, this guitar's fantastic, and this is the matching Telecaster to my white Fender Strat back there, being that this had the best neck, best pickups, and best price to performance ratio I'd played on a Telecaster up until buying this. It was a no-brainer to just pull the trigger and get it. I got it for an absolute deal. I paid $2,000 Boxing Day sale at a shop where I don't get any special discounts, and I thought that that was a great deal for this. I actually had this before I bought the Strat, and the Strat has been great, and this has been great. This does feel a little bit more premium than the Strat in the hand because it's not quite as heavy, which is interesting. You think being in a Telecaster, it would be heavier than the Strat, but it's not. These pickups, there's no need to replace them. They sound great. This neck pickup has a lot of chirp, so if you want a lot of that top-end snap, you don't have to go replacing this with anything. I can get great tones out of this in any combination. It's just been a staple live and in the studio here over the last few years. I actually play this more than the next Telecaster I'll show you because it just feels better. The big U-shaped neck feels very impressive in the hand. It's just got great single coil pickups, and overall it's just a pleasure to play. I think, again, this series is fantastic, and this also came in the same type of tweed hardcase. You also get that little cover that goes over the bridge section here if you want to put that on, but there's no weird mods, you know, that you don't get that rolled off neck pickup sound like you do on other Telecasters. It's just got a whole lot of mojo at a pretty affordable price, and for $2,000 I thought I got a pretty great deal on a Boxing Day sale. I was like, done. It's a done deal. Up next, we're checking out my 52 reissue Telecaster. I've had this for such a long time. I purchased this in San Francisco, California many years ago, and up until getting my 50s Tele over there, this was by far the best I'd ever played as a lefty. At the time, you couldn't get these kind of guitars anywhere in Australia, and I'd never seen anything other than the US standard guitars, which are still fantastic. So when I first played this, I was blown away by the neck shape and feel. It's definitely not as fat as the U-shape on the back of my American Original Tele, but it feels good. It's much fatter than your standard modern Telecaster neck, so I really liked it. To be honest, the pickups that were in here were pretty good. They just didn't handle the overdrive that well, which is why I ended up going over to these Danny Gatton pickups. These give you pretty much the same type of output, so a low output rail style pickup with all the top end chirp and clarity. I mean, Danny Gatton was playing these and they're just the best, and Dr. Rick had a set in his Telecaster as well, which is the inspiration for me getting these in mine. And the reason I've kept both is because this is completely noiseless and it sounds every bit as good as that guitar. And look at it, it's been played to death. So if you're wondering whether or not it's been relicked, no, it's just been played. It's been played for a long time, so all of the stains and the grime and the scratches and all this black stuff over here, this is all through use. You know, I kept the Made in the USA sticker on the back, but you know, one of the best memories I have of buying this was taking it out the day I got it and playing live in San Francisco at a place called Resellers. And it was just great to be able to play over in the US with this. It's got a lot of good memories, this guitar. And I've used it for countless albums and all kinds of stuff over the years. And it's just been an absolute workhorse. But it's been heavily modded as well. The only thing I haven't really changed are the tuners, the neck, and the body, but everything else has been gutted. So the pickups are different. You can see that the this little plate here has been changed. I've got the angled switch plate here. It's a lot easier to sort of get to, in my opinion. I've replaced the pots twice in this through use, and I've also had the frets changed over to stainless steel frets. I don't know why Fender aren't putting stainless steel frets in their higher quality guitars or more expensive guitars, but you know, I wore through the vintage frets in a few years. They weren't good at all. So stainless steel 6105 frets. I've replaced the pots, the switches, the pickups, and this is my most modded guitar and arguably still one of my most favorite. Now, is this as good to play as the Kiesel or a few of the others? No, but it's not far off, and being that it's been iconic on the channel at least over the last sort of, you know, 12 or so years, it's just a great instrument. I have no plans on getting rid of this. And it's a guitar I could play in place of, or this. You know, if I only had one, I would still take this because of the memories, but I think overall this is still a better guitar straight off the shelf. There's no need to mod this, whereas this guitar, it needed a bit of work. The pickup squealed, and there were a few other things about it I didn't like, but this is still a great guitar, and if you've got a 52 reissue Telecaster of any description, then you've got yourself a great guitar. Up next, we're checking out my Gibson Flying V. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this. I don't play it much in the studio, and I'm not really playing it that much out of the house at the moment, but the good news about this is the tones out of this guitar are fantastic, and you can play all the way up to the end of the fretboard, much like an SG, thanks to the way that the neck joins the body. So it's got a lot going for it. Maybe my favorite thing about this is it's extremely light. This would be my lightest guitar in the collection, right near the Kiesel. I think they're both very, very similar. I would say this is probably lighter than that as well. Now, unlike a Les Paul, for example, you can play a full gig with this without like breaking your shoulder, but we only get one tone control, which is enough. I wish this just had had one volume and one tone control, but there's two volumes, one tone, and you're good to go. Now, there's a few things I don't love about a Flying V, and if you're on the fence about buying one, I'll tell you what I don't like about it. You have to play it kind of like this if you're going to be seated and playing. You have to lock it into your leg, and I don't love this position. I much prefer to have the neck a little bit more like this, which means it's perpetually kind of like slipping off my leg, but it's more of a stand-up electric guitar, and I love the fact it stands up on its own on the floor like this. You can put it up against your amp, it's not going to fall over. So it's got that going for it. But, you know, ergonomics-wise, while this is a great guitar standing up and playing, I don't love sitting down and playing it, which is one of the reasons you don't see it a lot when I'm doing reviews, unless I'm standing and playing. But, I mean, playability, sound quality, all that kind of stuff. This is awesome. I think it's a better guitar than a Les Paul when it comes to just its overall weight and its playability, especially up on the higher frets. Not to say it's a better guitar overall, but just more playable in that regard. And I also love the headstock. It's just a little bit different. Now, there's one other thing I don't love about this, and that's how big the case is. Now, while it's not as big as a Gibson Explorer case, which comes up to about here if I'm standing up, the Flying V comes up to about here, and it was just a little bit too big to fit in my old car. Now that I've upgraded my car, I have no problems getting the case in the car, but in my old Kia, I couldn't actually put it in the back seat and without, you know, and close the doors. That's how big the case was. I sort of had to prop it up a little bit and then shut the doors that way. So yeah, the cases for these things are huge, but these are such great guitars. I can highly recommend them. And even after a couple of years, it still smells like vanilla cake. Why do they do it to us, man? But yeah, this is my only Gibson, and I'm still happy I kept it because tone-wise, playability-wise, and weight-wise, this is just a great guitar. I can really recommend them if you're looking for something other than just your straight-up Les Paul. Unless you subscribe to the channel, you might not know this next electric guitar. This is called a Fishook T, and that comes from this little section here, and it's from Maybury Guitars in Surrey, England. Now, this is the only English-made electric guitar I think I've tried on the channel, unless one's completely evaded my memory as of right now, but it's really cool. It gives you the traditional Telecaster tones, but a very different aesthetic. It's also made partly or mostly from reclaimed timbers as well, so I guess they're going green there as well. This finish looks fantastic up close. I'll show you some B-roll of that. I love the binding on here as well. The binding looks really, really stunning, and it's one of the most interesting and maybe most eclectic looking guitars in the collection. Now, this neck feels great in the hand as well. It's nice and chunky without being too fat. I think most people who like a 60s style neck will get a kick out of this. It really does feel good. The locking tuners are a really great upgrade. We get the 3 brass saddles, which is one of my favorite things about conventional Fender Telecasters. Tone-wise, this guitar is extremely lively, and that's because Maybury guitars use 1980s made in Japan Fender single coil pickups. So we're getting legit Fender tones out of this, but in a body that's extremely different. And it feels like a different guitar to play. It doesn't have exactly the same feel as my Fender Telecasters do. This feels a little bit like how my Little Crow guitar feels. It feels like someone's actually put the work into it, as opposed to just going through a CNC machine. So if you're into that kind of feel and you're looking for something a little bit different, these are really great value, considering that they're custom shop electrics. Now, there's plenty of different guitars visually than this as well. So if this sort of finish isn't for you, there's more like toned down versions as well. But I really like this. Came in a great sort of semi-hard case as well, which is just a beautiful addition. But this is a really great sounding electric. Much like my others, I have no reason to part ways with this. It's just something different, and also tone-wise, it stands out as being one of the most vibrant sounding Telecasters that I've played. So if you're looking for something different, check out Maybury guitars. I'll link them down in the description box below. And lastly, we have the Harley Benton HB35 Plus. This is a great sounding ES335. Now, I compared this up against the Epiphone ES335, and I deleted my SD card before I should have, and I lost my primary camera, so I had to delete the project. But tone-wise, this wasn't quite as bright as the Epiphone. The Epiphone sounded better in humbucker mode, but just by turning the treble up on my amp, I got them to match beautifully. So that's the spoiler for the upcoming video at some point. But the advantage that this has over the Epiphone is we get the coil tap mode, or the single coil mode, on these volume controls here. So you can pull these up and you're gonna get a very different sound to the traditional, you know, ES335 vibe. One of the reasons I've kept this is I find myself going back to this sound every now and then. I'm a big fan of Eric Clapton's Live in Hyde Park sound, and every now and then I'm like, man, I want to play a 335, and it makes me play a little bit cleaner, and it also helps me ring out the notes a little bit more. But you can play so much more than just straight up blues with this guitar. These are far more versatile than I think people give them credit for, but they make me play a little bit cleaner. I think more about my phrasing, and overall, it's a great guitar, especially for the price. If you want to check this out, I'll link it down in the description box below. So there you have it. That's my mid-year wrap-up of the guitars in my collection. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions about any of these guitars, or if you own one of them, or whatever the case may be, comment below. Please leave a thumbs up if you can. It really helps the channel grow and to reach more people. It's a nice, easy way of helping the channel. Just click that thumbs up button. That's awesome. So let us know what you think of this collection. There's 2 others that I still have that are in boxes, but they're on their way out. So I only want to include the stuff that I'm holding on to that isn't currently on its way out of the house. But thanks again for watching. My name's Shane, and I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.